Your constituency is one of the areas that's been identified for wanting this special help in Blackpool South. Who doesn't want more money? But the Times have ran the data. It seems that this money has been pumped into areas where you're being hammered by reform. Is this gerrymandering?
Absolutely not. This has been delivered into the most deprived areas across the country. Blackpool has been consistently the most deprived. It was in 2019, it was again in 2025. This has been done by ICON with their mission-critical neighbourhoods. Yes, there is some overlap where we know with some electoral issues, but this is clearly looking at the data, looking at the deprivation and where money is needed most, and Blackpool is top of that list.
Now, the thing about this, Morgan McSweeney, he's been here, we've had chats with him. His big thing is people need to see that areas are improving. They need to be able to touch it, see it with their own eyes before they believe that governments are making any difference. Otherwise, it's just all Westminster waffle. Nobody believes it. But here's the point. Is it fair to use taxpayers' money to pump Labour areas full of improvement, which is clearly, it seems to be favouring your vote?
Well, if you look at the most deprived communities, the number one is actually in Nigel Farage's constituency. So if it was pumping in just Labour areas, Nigel won't be number one on the deprivation list in his
but you've got no
constituency.
chance of winning there. That's the point.
But for us, this is about supporting all communities that are most deprived, that have been forgotten about for decades. We know, money went into cities, didn't go into towns under the last Labour government as much as it should have. We know the decline under the Conservatives. You only have to see that across Blackpool. We now need to rebalance the scales and put money into those areas that desperately need it, because these people have been struggling for far too long.
British politics like this one. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the British I Believe It or Not. Over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free.
Lee Anderson, it must be a sheer coincidence that 23 of these 25 areas, again, all this taxpayers' dosh, happen to be areas where the Labour Party is getting battered by reform.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Blackpool a few times. I used to be a regular visitor to Blackpool, marching back in the day.
What goes on tour, Lee, please?
Well, stays on Facebook, yeah, but it does need money spending on it, Blackpool. But it is not the whole solution to what's going on in Blackpool. We see a place that's full of HMOs now, lots of homeless people there, lots of migrants from I think it was a Roma community is quite prevalent in your neck of the woods. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, we've got it.
And to be quite frank, some of the streets I walked down was absolutely disgusting. But what really does regenerate an area is business, is good local businesses setting up shop on the high street. And with this current government in place, there is no incentive for businesses, for cafes, for restaurants, for pubs to set up shop. And that's how you rejuvenate a complete new area, is by getting businesses in, spending some money, filling the empty shops up and getting people into the towns.
But this is, just to come in there, this is exactly what this plan in place funding's already starting to do in Blackpool with the 1.5 million we got this year, is supporting those high streets, buying up those empty shops, giving them out to young entrepreneurs in Blackpool.
It doesn't cut business rates, Chris, does it? This is the big sticking point.
You just said about doing the high street. This is buying up.
Businesses will set up shop if you reduce their business rates. As simple as that. Having a shiny new shop front does encourage businesses to come in.
The majority of businesses that you see in Blackpool and our tourism are small shops that already have business rate relief.
How many barber shops you got?
I don't know. I have my one barbers in the town centre. I don't count. Do you know how many barber shops are in your batch?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Well, there's 7 on one high street. In my town, on the next street, there's another 8. There's 3 in Huthwaite, where I'm from. So on every high street, we've got loads.
Stop right there. Did you catch what Lee Anderson slipped in before he moved on to business rates? He mentioned HMOs, houses in multiple occupation, and the Roma community. That is the real issue that Labour, and honestly many soft conservatives, seem afraid to face. Webb wants to talk about regenerating neighborhoods and pouring millions into community projects, which often sounds like a way to hire more activists using taxpayers' money. But Anderson is pointing directly at the problem. You can repaint shop fronts. You can build as many youth centers as you like. But if the social fabric of a town has been torn apart by fast and poorly managed population changes, people will still stay away. Blackpool, like many northern towns, has not only been neglected economically, it has also suffered serious social decline. When Anderson talks about HMOs, he is talking about short-term populations, weak community ties, and the spread of hardship that no amount of government funding can easily fix. Look at Webb's reaction. He moves straight past this point and starts talking about buying up empty shops. But for what purpose? And for whom? This is the core disconnect. The Labour MP seems to believe the government can fix everything, that the state can simply buy a high street back into life. He talks about giving shops to young entrepreneurs, but that is wishful thinking. Real businesses set up where people feel safe, where there is spending power, and where taxes are fair. Anderson is right about business rates. The state is squeezing small businesses, then offering help funded by the same taxes that caused the damage in the first place. And this goes beyond economics. If people do not feel comfortable walking down the high street because of constant disorder, open drug dealing, or groups with no connection to local culture, they stay at home and shop online instead. Labour's answer often feels like managing decline rather than fixing it. The reform argument Anderson is making is clear. You cannot fix the economy unless you first deal with social cohesion and border control.
And the point about this, gentlemen, is that levelling up money has been used before. Let's face it, Ashfield, your constituency, you got pumped a load of money by your old
We had
Boris
the most
Johnson.
amount of any constituency in the country when Boris Johnson was dishing out the money. Has it made any difference? Well, they spent the money, they've got shiny new buildings. Some of the buildings, Martin, are empty. And the problem you have when you get this money, it's the local authority that decides where it's spent, and they make huge mistakes.
But this is where it's different. Levelling up under Boris levelled up buildings, not people. This level up funding and the 20 million we're getting, I've got my first event this weekend, is going to be led by the community, by a community board with a community chair leading the way to make sure it's spent in the right areas. So you can look at public engagement, we can look at supporting low-income families with food, we can do community events, getting kids off the street, putting money into boxing gyms, into sport events, looking at all the issues we have on these deprived areas, but it's going to be led by the community, and that's what this is so important about.
A lot of people, Chris, a lot of people listen to this will say, here we go again, it's youth clubs, it's ping pong centres, it's the same old tired things. And as Leanna said, admitted, when he got the money himself from Boris Johnson, it had no real impact. Is it just history repeating itself?
No, because the money we got previously was for town centres and city centres. This is based in the community. When we've already started with this engagement, they've asked for youth centres, they've asked for engagement for adults, mental health support, children with autism. These are the things, new play parks, better green space. This is what the communities are asking for, and this is what this money will be delivered.
But that doesn't bring investment into the area, Chris.
But this pride in place is about improving where people live. They pay their way, they pay their taxes, they pay their council tax, they deserve a good place to live, and they've been neglected for far too long. Yeah,
but if you look at Blackpool South, where you represent, Chris, another area...
British politics like this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the British I Believe It, or not over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free.
Areas like Blackpool South, look around the country, the Midlands, the North West, North East, they've all got a couple of things in common. They've all been run down, they've got high deprivation, they've got high unemployment, high crime rates, and they've always had a Labour MP, and they've always had a Labour council, and most of them now have got Labour mayors. It's as simple as that. So I think the blame lies at Labour's door.
Lads, let's get back to PMQs earlier on today. Lee Anderson, back on that point about business rate relief for pubs. We had a huge conversation about it yesterday. Chris Webb. Let's look at your question now to the Deputy Prime Minister today, David Lammy.
Unlike the Prime Minister of our country, I've never been thrown out or barred from a pub, and after yesterday's disastrous announcement to save our pubs, there's no wonder it's cleared off to China. But I've got one question for the Deputy Prime Minister. Will he come with me to Ashfield to visit some pubs and speak to some landlords and explain to them why over 500 pubs have closed since this Labour government came into power, and why another 500 pubs will close in the next year? Come on, be a man.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think I once campaigned with the honourable gentleman who was a member of the Labour Party. And it's been said of him that when he left, he enhanced the IQ of the Labour Party and the IQ of the party that he went to. I wonder what job the honourable member is pitching for on Reform's shadow cabinet. They've got Nadeem Zahawi to advise on tax, the member for Newark to open up the borders. Now they need Liz Truss to crash the economy.
And there it is, the unchecked arrogance of the metropolitan elite on full display. David Lammy, a man many feel has failed upwards his entire career, standing in the House of Commons, cracking jokes about IQ while the country struggles around him. Notice something important here. He never answered the question. Not even close. Lee Anderson asked a very specific and deeply serious question about more than 500 pubs shutting down. These are community hubs, part of the backbone of British culture. And Lammy's response was to play to the gallery, fishing for laughs from his own benches. This is exactly why so many people have lost trust in politicians. There is a real and painful issue here. British pubs are closing because of soaring energy bills, higher taxes, and policies that seem to punish ordinary working people for enjoying simple pleasures. And the Deputy Prime Minister turns it into a comedy routine. That laughter you hear in the chamber is not harmless. To many watching, it feels like they are laughing at you. Laughing at the concerns of working class people. Laughing at the idea that someone like Lee Anderson, who actually worked down a pit, dares to challenge them. Lammy talks about crashing the economy, as if his own government is not putting huge pressure on farmers, driving wealth creators away, and attacking aspiration itself. It is pure projection. But what really stands out is the fear. He spends much of the exchange attacking Reform's shadow cabinet. Why? Because they know Reform is the one movement that threatens their dominance. They know that when Anderson talks about pubs closing, he speaks a language that resonates far more with ordinary voters than Lammy's polished talking points. This clip shows the so-called uniparty mentality in action. Politics treated like a game, a debating club where the winner is whoever lands the sharpest one-liner. Meanwhile, outside Westminster, real businesses are shutting their doors for good. Anderson's question was about survival. Lammy's response was about ego. That contrast tells you a lot about this Labour government. Lee said it plainly, "You never really answered my question." He pointed out that while personal jabs do not bother him, what is insulting is ignoring the struggles of British businesses. High streets are dying. If businesses cannot survive, the high street collapses. It really is that simple. Pubs are closing every single day. He mentioned landlords telling him that the so-called help on offer saves them only a few £100s a year, barely £10 a week. That is nowhere near enough. When Chris Webb was asked what he was hearing from landlords in Blackpool South, he claimed these measures were exactly what pubs needed. Yet when pressed to name a single pub that was happy, he could not. He admitted he had not spoken to any pub since the policy was announced, then tried to brush it off with jokes about being welcome in pubs. Anderson challenged him directly to come back and name a couple of pubs that supported what was said. The challenge was laid down live on television. Then the discussion shifted to a side issue, trying to embarrass Anderson over whether he had ever been thrown out of a pub. Videos were shown, jokes were made, and the focus moved away from the real issue yet again. This is the game. Distract, mock, and deflect. On one side, you have Labour figures telling people that small amounts of their own money, passed through layers of organisations, will somehow fix towns damaged by years of bad policy. On the other, you have a Deputy Prime Minister laughing while someone asks why British heritage and community life are disappearing. Lee Anderson may be rough around the edges, and he may have been escorted out of a pub or two in his time, but at least he is arguing for pubs to survive. Labour, to many watching, looks like it is simply managing decline and laughing along the way. So here is the real question. When you look at your own high street, do you actually see the improvements these politicians keep promising?